What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast. As you can see, I am your host as always, Tony Mango, and I am going to be breaking down the WWE Survivor Series WarGames, because you have to add that in there, 2025 pay-per-view that just ended. The PLE is over and done with, so of course we're going through our results for everything. And then on top of that, my reactions to the matches, all the outcomes, the little mysteries that we have going on, and where I think we're going from here. I always invite everybody else to join in on the discussion in whatever fashion that it is. So if you are joining us live on YouTube, then hit up the super chats and everything that's over there. If you are listening after the fact on Spotify or iTunes, whatever it is, YouTube in particular, leave a comment and tell me what you think about all these things. Tell me what your reactions are, any of that good stuff. And keep in mind, too, that if you are on whatever platform you are on, something like YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe, ring your notification bells, set up all of, following and sharing things, whatever it might be. Now, if you're elsewhere, click on whatever that says, if it's like a star rating or something like that, too. But lots of completely free, easy ways to help support us and to help us just, continue to grow and everything like that. Keep in mind, too, that the Redbubble and TeePublic shops are open 24/7. They're just an online thing. So if you ever feel the need to pick up some merchandise or anything, that is another great way to help us out. Admittedly, I would more so endorse the Patreon or the YouTube channel membership, because that does tend to go more directly to things. And Redbubble and TeePublic take a lot of the, 99% of what you're paying for themselves. But yeah, it's what it is. If you want to get a hat or something like that, that's a great way to help. So join all the different things we got going on there, as well as the Discord channel. That's always a great place for you to chat it up at any point in time, share some memes, have some fun, watch things during pay-per-views, whatever it might be. So if you are at all into the Discord side of things, then hop on over. We'd love to have you. So now that we got that out of the way, I see that Peter's in the chat. What's going on, Peter? Mr. 4-0. What's Mr. 4-0? Am I missing something? Or is this, were you 4-0? You got all four matches correct or something? I believe that I got all the matches correct, and I don't know for sure if I won the fantasy league predictions. I'm gonna have to double check to see what Rob and Callum had put down in the chat. I think that I had the longest time between us. For anybody that's curious about this thing. So for whatever the Wikipedia says, I had said it was, of course, it would be great if this would load and then I could actually read the thing. I had said it was something like, it was going to be like 41-11 or something. And I believe Rob had like 36 or something. Yeah, Facebook just does not want to load for me right now. So it's going to make that kind of process a little bit annoying. I don't know what the Wikipedia thing says. So Rob's was 36-24, mine was 41-11, and Callum was 38-39. So I'm going to be curious here to see if that ends up going more in my way. I don't know if anybody from Wikipedia already has that timed out, but let's see. If they do, 40-30. So I think that I got that. I think I get another fantasy league win. So I'm going to blow it out of the water, and it's going to piss them off so much if they end up having to give me another power or something. So anyway, getting into the things beyond the fantasy league side of this whole thing, the actual pay-per-view itself. We started off with the women's WarGames match after a 2-hour pre-show that, of course, did not matter whatsoever. There was absolutely no reason to watch it. And if you wanted to check out things like the clips of Solo Sikoa watching the last WarGames or whatever, then you just go to WWE's was it Playback, I think is the name of the thing. And the whole, it's been 35 years since The Undertaker debuted. Okay, well, we've talked about that before, so you don't need to watch pre-show for that. We got Domino in the chat. Let's see. Just an average Tony Mango fan. And that hoodie boy was Austin Theory, finally found after I printed his name on my local milk carton. Love JC Jane. Not to spoil my point of view about it, but I agree. And we'll come back to that. But the WarGames match that starts off was the women's WarGames match. So you had AJ Lee, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and Io Sky up against the two different teams that you have of Lash Legend and Nia Jax. And you have the Kabuki Warriors. And then between them, you have Becky Lynch. So the order, for anybody that's curious about the order, if anybody cares, Charlotte Flair starts off with Asuka. That leads to Io Sky, Becky Lynch. Then there's Bliss. There's Kairi Sane, AJ Lee, Nia Jax, and then Rhea Ripley, and then Lash Legend. I was really surprised at the layout for this. I figured there was a chance that you could start off with Flair, Asuka, Io. Maybe they would start off with Io, Becky. I kind of narrowed it down to those four. But when they go Flair and Asuka, okay, well then Bliss is next. And Bliss wasn't next. And I was like, that's a little bit weird. So Io comes out, and then I'm thinking, all right, well then Kairi Sane comes out because Asuka's out there, so Kabuki Warriors, whatever. Well, Becky Lynch comes out next, so I'm like, all right, we're all over the place here. And I thought it was even weirder when later on I got to the point where it's Lash Legend and Nia Jax are the last two, and Rhea Ripley's the one coming out between them. And I was like, oh, okay, well then Lash Legend comes out, Rhea Ripley comes out, Nia's the one that anchors the team as, the biggest woman in the whole thing, and the one that could stand toe to toe and knock a bunch of people down and everything. And they flipped that and ends up going to Lash Legend being the last one. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know if they did a good enough job in putting her over afterward by making her seem like enough of a powerhouse to really get that point across. Because I think if you're in that scenario, you should put Lash in a spot where she can really just dominate for a while. I didn't really quite get that as much as they were, hoping. But the idea that they gave any kind of consideration to that, and that's still positive. So, the match was okay. It was not bad. Io Sky did her trash can thing again, although she did a slight variation. This time she did a front flip. I certainly wouldn't want to do it. I would not be able to pull it off. All those things that if anybody thinks I'm criticizing this for, no, that's not how my point of view is. But it is just, Io does the trash can spot off the top of the cage again thing. So the more that you do it, the less that it really matters to me. And, same when it comes to all these matches. If you're having the most brutal match possible and you're using kendo sticks, I don't think that I really care whatsoever, So this could have been better, and at the same time, it was a good match. So I don't know if I would have gone directly into the AJ Lee makes Becky Lynch tap out with the Black Widow finish, but I think that if this is going to be the end of that feud, then you needed some kind of more definitive victory, and AJ Lee making Becky tap out. Maybe that's the way that they do it. I still think that they are going in some kind of women's Intercontinental Championship direction with AJ. I still think that, Roxanne will beat Maxine, and then, it will probably go Roxanne and then to AJ Lee and then, whatever. But I got even more confused about that situation with the next match, because after Becky Lynch taps out, the second match of the show is Dominik Mysterio against John Cena. They gave him a long entrance and really dragged that out for a little bit. Cena and Mysterio at one point really had me going for they faked me out. They got me when Dom goes and he does a Hurricanrana, and he's in the same basic spot as Penta was. He's on the outside, he's jumping off the barricade, the whole thing, and he lands on his shoulder, and they get the referee to come by, and he's checking on him, and everybody's acting awkward, and I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. They do 2 shoulder injuries right in a row in the same week for whatever. Oh my God, this is like NXT with the ACLs. But lo and behold, that was just, a ruse. Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez start going on the attack, and then Mysterio suddenly is totally better and he can try to get a pinfall. So they got me on that. That was a good spot. And that led to them getting booted away from ringside. JD McDonough and Finn Balor come out to help out after the referee takes a bump. They are incapacitated. John Cena takes care of them. And then that's the time when Liv Morgan comes out. She makes her big return. Place goes crazy. She slaps Dom. It doesn't really. She comes, she kind of whiffs it. But, that's been happening. And then she jumps into John Cena's arms and then low blows him and helps Dom win the title. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there goes the whole idea that I was thinking, where she returns. She's clearly a babyface because everybody's popping for her, that kind of thing. I guess they don't want to actually go in that direction too soon. And I still feel like they're going in that direction. But now I'm thinking they probably think, well, we can tell like the story there more so, not just she comes back and she's already mad. It'll be more, let's drag this out through the Royal Rumble season and then this leads into Mania, maybe. So now I'm not too sure about if this is going to be Roxanne versus AJ for the women's Intercontinental title at Mania, or I was thinking it could be Roxanne and Liv at Mania. Now I'm not really too sure. It could even be a triple threat for all I know. But one of them's going to have to wait. So either Liv is totally on their side and then, they split later down, or this is one of those weird things where they're going to try to like cram two feuds in on a weird timeline where like drag one out and then do two really fast, kind of. I don't really know. But yeah, it's interesting. Liv Morgan is back. She is still with Dom. So what's the story? Is it going to be like she reasserts her part of the throne and then Roxanne starts like trying to convince Dom away from her? Or is this more like maybe we get a babyface turn for Roxanne and maybe Raquel and Finn and, whoever breaks apart with the whole thing? I don't know. I'm curious about it though. And I guess this means that they didn't want John Cena to hold the Intercontinental title going into the final match because maybe whoever they plan, it's probably Gunther, whoever they plan on having the match with Cena, if you have Cena win, you have to vacate the title. And if you have Cena lose, then that person should be the champion. So maybe they didn't want Gunther to hold the Intercontinental title, so they felt they needed to put it back on Dom, but they cross off the whole John Cena thing. So it's like, I'm okay with that. If it was give him the championship purely for the Grand Slam title thing, no, I'm totally fine with that. I think that, if I would do that, I would do that in my own shoes. I would have done that with The Undertaker, for instance. The Undertaker never won the Intercontinental title. And at some point, I probably would have been like, if you plan on wrapping up your career, can we just like figure out a way to put the IC title on you? Like, in any way that we can. Say Levy. Let me double check on the chat a little bit here. I've been missing out on some of these. Perhaps Becky EO was blocking the camera and Becky waited to Hitman handle slam on whoever. The Night Tyrant says, just close your eyes, Tony. Imagine it's Solo versus Jay and last time is now tournament finale. And the IWC is burning on Twitter. Yeah, man, different story. I wish there were so many things more burning on Twitter. And Peter says, Liv turn on her childhood crush. I can see, what's Cena, her childhood crush? Did she say that at some point? I could see it. I can see Roxanne winning the IC title and Liv screws her. AJ beats Roxanne for the IC Triple Mania. Yeah, I mean, they got to go in some direction with something there. Like, it's not, I mean, it shouldn't be Maxine Dupree still holding the title heading into WrestleMania or something. So yeah, I mean, the whole John Cena title change, I'm not opposed to it. Most scenarios like this, I would hate it, but I like Dom, and Dom being the champion means we can get some more feuds going forward. They could do whatever they plan on doing there, and then Cena not holding the title, he already got to cross it off. That's the thing that matters the most. It might even actually be a good thing for Gunther, because Gunther not being IC champion frees him up to have a match with somebody like a Brock Lesnar. And I don't know if they're going to plan to do Brock versus Braun Breaker or Brock versus Roman or something like that. But I think that probably Brock's options at Mania are, if it's not Breaker, then it's probably Gunther. And, there's a chance it might be Logan Paul. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, what else does Logan Paul do? Logan Paul versus Brock Lesnar would be a really, mainstream type of thing to advertise. That's for sure. Now I kind of want that to happen instead of just like they both just they handle that on their own, and then it doesn't have to taint two other matches, kind of. Dominic says, I'm saying it here first. They want to do Lesnar versus Gunther at Mania, which they originally wanted at Mania 39, and they want Gunther looking strong going into it. Yeah, same thing. I think that we were going to get that at Mania before, and then now they're finally going to get the option because they decided to just sell out the rest of their morals. And if you ever have any idea where my politics stand, all you got to do is listen to this podcast, right? Let's talk about the Women's World Championship match. Stephanie Vaquer retains over Nikki Bella, and that's not at all surprising either. Going into that was the one thing we were all just, yeah, that's clearly going to happen. I know that some people were saying, there's a possibility that they could put the belt on Bella, if not just for like a quick thing or something. I just didn't see it happening at all. And the match was all right. Nothing special, nothing horrible, nothing to remember, really. They did a fine enough job, and then it was over. So, credit to them for, an overall good performance and everything. I really don't have anything to say about it, to be honest. It was pretty straightforward. Stephanie Vaquer is going to beat Nikki Bella, and then she does. So, sounds dismissive, but it's just there's not as much of a story there. Replace WarGames next year with the Iron Survivor Challenge. WarGames has run its course. I fully agree. Said it a million times. I don't think that WarGames should be just like, well, it's November, so, I guess we're going to do WarGames. I think that WarGames should be the same as Hell in a Cell. You should do Royal Rumble every year at the beginning of the year. You should do Elimination Chamber afterward, as either that's the struggle that the champion has to go through to get to Mania, or my preference, that's the thing that decides who challenges the other champion. I think that makes perfect sense. It's just a means to be like a tournament style thing. Money in the Bank being every year, it doesn't need to be at a specific time of the year, but whenever they want to do Money in the Bank, they could do it in July, they could do it in August, whatever. They set it up. It's just a bunch of people compete, and then those people, arbitrarily, one of them wins, and they've got the case going forward. King of the Ring tournament, same thing. You could just do that whenever. Crown Jewel, you could do those two gimmicks where it's, champions against each other. When it comes to WarGames, though, it's like Hell in a Cell. You need a storyline reason for there to be two groups of people that need to fight in steel cages. And when they just say, well, we'll just figure out the WarGames match in a couple weeks leading up to it because it's the same as like the teams for Survivor Series, it doesn't work out all that well. So I'm not a fan of that at all. I think that whatever they want to do with Survivor Series, if they want to go back to the traditional tag match thing, which I would prefer if they had fun with that and tried to figure out something interesting for, if they do the Raw versus SmackDown thing, I've been pitching for the longest time. I think that the Raw versus SmackDown thing makes more sense, and that it should be that Survivor Series, whoever wins, like the brand wins, that person gets the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble. My mind, that's a good thing where, it splits the difference already. Like your chances to win the Royal Rumble go up, 50% or whatever the hell it would be. But I also would want a script supervisor to be in WWE. So Vaquer beats Nikki Bella, and that leads to the men's WarGames match. The order that match forward, if anyone's interested, CM Punk and Bron Breakker start off. Pretty much assumed that was a possibility. But again, they followed a slightly different road than I was thinking. Drew McIntyre was next. I was assuming it would be Bronson Reed. Cody Rhodes followed Drew McIntyre, then you throw in Logan Paul, Jimmy Uso's out, Bronson Reed's out, Jey Uso, Brock Lesnar, and then Roman Reigns. And the interesting thing here, of course, comes about when we get to the very end of the whole thing, because the rest of it's just everybody doing moves. And no moves stood out to me as like a particular thing. They had like Cody Rhodes accidentally elbowed CM Punk because he was just confused. And, they're trying to sow some seeds for some interesting things, but, nothing to really talk about. But the interesting thing that comes about is the end of this, where somebody in a mask and a hood, all black, jumps up the cage, comes into the match and super kicks CM Punk, and then hits him with a stomp, and then jumps back out the cage, climbs over, and, runs off. But that leads to Bron Breakker being able to get the pinfall. So now clearly that person was working for Paul Heyman. Who is that person? It's a super kick and a stomp, which means that it's implied that it's Seth Rollins. But of course, it's not going to be Seth Rollins. And, my instant theory, wink, wink, was that this was Austin Theory. We've been hearing for a while on the rumor mill, and, you always have to take it with a grain of salt because it could always be wrong. But the theory going around was that Austin Theory was going to be a part of this group, even when it was still with Rollins. at some point they would bring him in. He would be another member of the group, and it would be, the three underlings under Rollins kind of a thing. With Rollins being injured, that theory kind of popped back up again, and it was, speculation that it was like, okay, well, we got the bronze, but we need somebody else, so Austin Theory is going to step in again. And he's ready to go, it seems. He has a similar enough build to the person. I think that that's the thing that makes the most sense. I've seen plenty people online already speculating in ways that are completely baffling to me. Like, of course I saw it's Jon Moxley, which is like, it's not going to be Jon Moxley. A lot of people going, that looks like AJ Styles. A lot of people saying that it actually is Seth Rollins and he just, early comeback kind of thing. I don't think that makes any sense. I think he is actually injured, and I think that they wouldn't do the fake injury thing twice. Nor would it make any sense for him to help out the group to beat him up, But I think that's his theory, and I think that if they don't already say it on Monday Night Raw, if he doesn't just come out or whatever, and they try to build like a mystery around it, then I think that that's gonna just play out over the course of a few episodes or so. I think that's pretty much just gonna be theory. Let's see some other stuff in the chat. I'm happy the heels won. They said at Saturday night's main event it's going to be the NXT superstars involved, and that they haven't even started that either. Yeah, I mean, they're going to probably just announce matches. So it's just going to be like, oh, you know what? Inoba Femi's versus so-and-so. Raw versus SmackDown requires a hard brand split, and WWE never ever stick to the brand split. Every week Raw guys are on SmackDown and vice versa. Yeah, that's what happens when they go, well, we feel like we just need to put them on there. And, if you don't feel confident enough with the group of people that you have and you can't think of anything, then you bring in something else just for like spontaneity. And I feel like, look at SmackDown, like they don't know what they're doing over there. So why not give them a third hour? Yay, that'd be great. Reading from Michael in the chat here. It is crazy how some people think it's Seth Rollins when clearly it isn't. Well, again, I've seen plenty of people think that it's Jon Moxley, that it's Edge, that it's Chris Jericho. And it's like, do you imagine Chris Jericho doing exactly that right now? He's not doing that. But yeah, let's see. Lots of people want Punk versus Cody at Mania. Cody, would you have Punk drop the title to Breaker now that Breaker pinned him at Royal Rumble in a singles match, or stick it to Punk as World Heavyweight Champ? I don't know. See, if somebody said you have WWE creative control, what would you do? Without factoring in like what I think that they're going to do, I would be like, I don't want to see CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. We just had that match with Seth Rollins last year. It's not interesting. But I don't feel like they set up Bron Breakker in a way where it's like, if it's Bron Breakker versus CM Punk, is anybody really going to care? We've been seeing that match. And it's a Bron Breakker versus Roman Reigns. Well, they've fought each other already multiple times. So I don't want a triple threat between them either. I kind of feel like I would be in a position where I would try to move a lot of people around the card. Like I don't know who I would pair with Punk, because I was thinking Logan Paul would have been a good potential option. If Jericho was coming in, and if I know for sure that Jericho is coming in, I think that I try to figure out who do I pair Jericho up with too. And that could be a Logan Paul match, or that could be Jericho against CM Punk, maybe. Or I wouldn't probably do Jericho versus Cody, because I don't know. Part of me would say I would try to build Punk and Cody as the big match, but I don't know how you get to that point without, you have to take the title off of Punk. And if you take the title off of Punk, then whoever he loses it to, you would think he would try to go after. And I don't think that Cody would be like that. That would make a whole lot of sense. Punk would then have to win the Royal Rumble, so he'd have to drop the title already. Like, I don't know, that it feels like maybe that's not, this year. But I don't know, Roman, I'm not interested in like a Roman Punk match, and I don't want to see Roman Cody again. And then again, like, I don't know who I would have Roman against, and Roman's got to do something at Mania, because it's not going to be The Rock. That's what I would rather, just like force him to do it. But maybe Roman against, it couldn't be Bronson Reed, it couldn't be Bron Breakker. I don't know. Maybe Roman Gunther. Like, maybe I would try to do something there. And then Brock against Braun Breaker. I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to sit down with like a whole spreadsheet and be like, you know, can anybody in WWE here commit to you are willing to push this person, or, you know, whatever. I'd probably have to do that. Do you believe that the women's US title is buried, as WWE took it off in Julia mere seconds, and this week had new champ Chelsea destroyed by Jade too? I think that they don't know anything about what they're doing with the US title, and they are just like farting in the wind. Like, they gave it to Zelina to be a transitional champion. They didn't even do anything with her. Then they, you know, waited a couple weeks. Then they give it to Julia. They don't do anything with Julia as well. And then she drops it to Chelsea, and then Chelsea's back in the same position. And like, they just had the Julia and Tiffany Stratton stuff. So that's kind of still just the two women's champions. We want to do something with them, but we don't know what to do. So why don't we just have them? I don't think they have a clue what they're doing with it. And it sucks because it seems like it's pretty easy to just like take a couple seconds to book it, you know, look at who you have on the roster. If you have nobody interesting in, then move people up from NXT. I don't know. Swap somebody from Raw. I think it's pretty easy, but then again, I'm not on the road doing all this kind of stuff, so maybe there's, you know, elements to this that I'm not unaware of. But so the heels win, and I'm assuming it's Austin Theory, and I guess we're going to figure all that stuff out when it comes to Monday Night Raw. So that's essentially the pay-per-view. Of course, I want to know what you have to say, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. You know, hit up whatever, you know, theories or whatever you want to put out there on smarkatmoment.com too. And keep in mind the different things that I have on the link tree. Go to amangotree.com, anthonymango.com. Find everything that's on there. Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, the Tony Mango stuff too. That's all good. Just go ahead and click on any of that you're interested in. Share your support. And, you know, I guess that's basically it. So, you know, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining for the live show and everything else like that. And the next time that we're going to be coming around is going to be the NXT deadline predictions, because we got another pay-per-view coming up next week. So another round of the hot tags in between there. Live coverage next week for NXT deadline. And then we're going to just roll through the rest of December. So I guess that's it. Adios for now, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.